affirmed?
Yes, I've always been confident that it will be affirmed. We're hopeful. Let's see how Saturday goes. We wait for the ruling on Saturday, but we're very confident that with the case that we put before the judge and the strength of the authorities we cited, this shows that this will be affirmed.
But how did you take the preliminary objection that was overruled by the courts earlier?
Well, you can only be grateful to the courts when the decision was made. A bit surprising, but however, we are grateful to the court. And then obviously we saw how we advanced our case, which meant that we were very prepared from the get-go. And so on the basis of how we advance our case, I think that we can only expect a very good outcome on Saturday afternoon.
The argument has been made that only 110 polling stations were declared out of 148, and that's 78% were declared in your constituency, for which reason you were declared MP-elect, and that should not be allowed to stand.
But what was the basis in the first place? I mean, the EC, the returning officer or the EC can't just unilaterally decide to declare just a few polling stations instead of the total polling stations. There was a particular reason. What was the particular reason? When we sat together with our opponents, together with the EC officials, and went through it polling station by polling stations, both of us, all of us, identified that the 31 polling stations, there was a challenge. What was the challenge? The challenge was that figures had been swapped, and that was the point that we made. I have made the point severally that we don't create pink sheets. The pink sheets that's given to us, it's from the EC. And so there is a famous saying from our opponent where they make a case. I think it was Dr. Bamia that said that the evidence is on the face of the pink sheet. I have the pink sheet from you as EC. And from EC, the figures on the pink sheet that you've given to me shows that I've won in 31 polling stations. And if these 31 polling stations is added to the 110, it puts me ahead and I beat my opponent to 2,352. You know, a gap of 2,352. However, during the collation, we found out that the figures that is coming from the collation are different. So this is what we pointed out, you know, and it's surprising the stance they're taking because my opponent's agents were in the room at the time and they had agreed. In fact, the suggestion, from what I understand, came from them. I didn't initially agree that the 31 police stations be set aside because I knew that this was my numbers. I was going to be disadvantaged, you know. So, I mean, it wasn't a case. We still stand that. I mean, if the 31 police stations, with the pink sheet that we have given to us by the EC is anything to go by, we would have won the election. Would won the election, in fact, you know. And if it comes to Calgary Central, for instance, there are some police stations that the NDC has never ever won in these police stations. This time around in 2024, we won a number of these polling stations. Interestingly, whilst everybody is there, pink sheet shows that you've won. You come to collation and the figures has been swapped. You know, and so that's the point that we made during the collation. Before the EC themselves, they have their own policies. We are not the ones that decide for the EC what to do regarding declaration. They went in and they did the declaration. As it stands now, that detailed declaration, I think, to be fair, has been done.
And that's why you disagree that it was done under duress.
Of course, I mean, it was never done under duress. I mean, it will require a whole court petition to be able to determine some of these issues that they brought. But be satisfied, some of you were in court, you heard them. The narrative of duress was largely missing. You know, in our case, for instance, I mean, when my opponent had written to the EC, the letter that was read in court, for instance, he was reiterating to them or affirming that the declaration had been done. He only wanted it to be revoked because of irregularity and coercion. These are two different ways. I mean, if you break it down. So yeah.
Well, on a personal level, we've seen you at collation centers. We are seeing you in court all throughout. The same cannot be said of your opponent. What does this suggest to you?
I mean, it's quite obvious. I mean, this takes us back to what's a story in the Bible where there were two women fighting over a child, and one woman had said that when they had gone to the arbiter or the chief, King Solomon, to adjudicate the matter, and there was a suggestion that the child be cut into two. One woman was emphatic, yes, cut the child into two. One woman was rather projecting that no, you can't do this. This is my child. This is quite similar, you know. we have won the election. We know the work that went into winning the Kaikwe Central for the first time. We know the work that went into the campaigning. We know the work that went into elections management of the elections general. Really, we know the work that went into overall the campaign for 2024 and the elections management. We know the work we did relative to collation. That was why we were confident from the get-go that we had won the election. We were the first to put out our figures, 52.92%, and we knew the gap with which we are beating our opponent, 2,352. We knew all of these things because our elections management was superior. We'd done our collations and everything showed. Only if you come to collation again and realize that some of the figures have been swapped, and that's at that particular point, it borders on criminality. And when figures are being swapped at will, when pink sheets are being fraudulently recreated, it creates an issue of criminality in that instance. So we have been emphatic from the get-go that we had won the election, and we had also been emphatic that at any forum to discuss or to adjudicate it, it would have only affirmed that the NDC won in the Kaikwe Central.
Baba, thank you so much for speaking to us. We wish you well.